Bingo. We're good? Okay. Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Monroe-Naylor? Mr. Collins?
Here.
Ms. Gresham?
Present.
Ms. Hurst? Absent. Attorney Murphy? Absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Mayor Sarno?
President, to Attorney Murphy, good health to you. I know he had to have a health procedure today. We're also joined by our student representative, Patience Naylor, from Putnam Vocational Technical Academy, the lovely daughter of school committee woman, Latonia Naylor, too, so the apple doesn't fall too far away from the tree. With that, if we could all please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We wish you all a happy Easter to you and your families, the people in the audience and the viewing audience. And for you hockey fans, unfortunately, our UMass got beat by Denver 2-1 in double overtime right across the street at the Mass Mutual Center, but big crowds in downtown Springfield for the regional. With that, we'll move to approval of the minutes. Approve the minutes of the March 14, 2024 regular school committee meeting and the March 20th, 2024 special school committee meeting. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gresham, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Naylor. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe-Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst? Absent. Attorney Murphy? Absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, Board of Sufficient votes, matter passes. Thank you. Now we'll move to voting items. A is to approve a transfer of approximately 2 acres of land as depicted on the attached plan situated between Van Sickle Academy to the Park Division of the Parks and Buildings Recreation Management Department of the City of Springfield to be maintained as a public park for the Springfield citizens and the Springfield Public School System. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. We've done a lot of transactions over the years with the Park Department. We met earlier in subcommittee on this. There's a piece in your packet on it that explains the rationale and has a picture of the land we're talking about. Behind Van Sickle, there's some fields there. The Park Department has access to a grant where they can improve the fields and maintain the fields for us. Park Superintendent Sullivan and Peter Krupchak presented earlier, assured us that our teams from Van Sickle Renaissance would have first use of the fields and, and could use them for phys ed class, and our interscholastic athletics would also have access to the fields. But they'd be able to access a grant, improve the land, improve the fields, and then maintain the fields. They've done that at several other properties for us. We had Peter Krupchak from the Park Department present earlier. It came through our Building and Maintenance Subcommittee. I don't know if, Chris, you wanted to speak to it?
Sure. Thank you, Superintendent. If you've got the drawing out, you can see there's a darker red square behind the school that goes from the driveway back and then partway through the fields. That's the land in question. The rest of the land is parkland already. And this is the ultimate no-brainer for us. We deed it to the park. They get a grant and improve it. They maintain it, and we get to use it. What's a better deal than that? So it obviously got unanimous support from the grounds and maintenance.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. I know, Mr. Krupchak, Peter might be on, and
Peter came down earlier.
He was here.
Earlier, okay.
And I told him I didn't think he needed to
Yeah.
come back because...
and
like
we
a
have
no-brainer.
some great softball leagues that are there.
Yep.
Dominican Republic, they run a great league, the Latino League. They really take good care of the field there too. But again, the big thing here is, Mr. Collins says, it's a great deal for the school system, and our kids will have first priority on it. So, and I appreciate the subcommittee doing that. So I don't know if there's any more questions or comments. Hearing none.
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chair Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Naylor. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy, absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, more than sufficient votes, this matter passed. Thank you very much. We'll now move to B. This is to approve a City of Springfield diploma for Louis Vasquez. Superintendent Warwick, please.
There's a memorandum in your packet on this. Louis has completed all the requirements, including passing all the coursework and passing the competency determination with the MCAS, so he qualifies for a City of Springfield diploma. I recommend approval.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Any questions or comments? Hearing,
Mayor?
yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair Gonzalez. Motion made by Vice Chair Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Collins. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy, absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, more than sufficient votes. Matter passes. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Vasquez. C is to approve the Dryden School field trip to Red Gate Farm in Asheville, Massachusetts on May 15th, 2024, returning on May 17th, 2024. We do this with many of our schools. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. You're right. This is a trip a lot of our schools take. This trip is to Red Gate Farm, and it's one we take frequently, and it's been a great trip for us. There's people from the school if you have any questions, but I recommend approval. There's a piece in your packet on it.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. Very dramatic tonight, Vice Chair Gonzalez. I need a little laugh, too. Motion made by Vice Chair Gonzalez. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy, absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, more than sufficient votes. This matter passes. Thank you very much. D is to approve Harena School field trip to Red Gate Farm in Asheville, Massachusetts on May 20th, 2024, returning on May 22nd, 2024. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Again, there's a piece in your packet on it. I recommend approval.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor? So
Vice Chair.
moved.
Oh, I just have one question.
Okay. You broke into that dramatic presentation there. Ms. Naylor, go ahead.
I'm assuming this is the case as it was with the last field trip, but it doesn't state, I don't see where it states the nurse requirement, but on the first one it did, so I'm just assuming that Red Gate is also going to provide a nurse in the event that there's one needed?
We have the nurse piece on every trip.
Okay, wonderful.
Good pickup there.
I think
Ms.
they
Naylor.
just used the old form rather than the
Yeah.
new form.
Yeah.
That
We should
explains it.
just remind them to use the up-to-date form.
They got the old form.
Yep. Well, thank you, Ms. Naylor. It was a good pickup. Any other questions or comments? Motion was made by Vice Chair Gonzalez. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Ms. Naylor. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy, absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, board is sufficient votes. This matter passes. Thank you very much. E is to approve an expenditure of $69,388 from the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, for Springfield Empowerment Zone for the FY 2024 Early College Capacity Grant. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Yeah, this has been through our Budget and Finance Subcommittee. Matt Brunel is here. Matt, if you could give us a quick description of the grant?
Mr.
I'd
Brunel.
be happy to.
Thanks,
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice
Good
Chair
evening. Happy
Gonzalez.
Easter.
Happy early Easter to you as well.
Thank you.
This grant will support our early college efforts across the high schools within the empowerment zone. In particular, will help us fund a readiness manager who's going to be able to offer personalized coaching to our participants in the early college definition of the programs that they want to pursue. We're really going to scale right now. In fact, at the most recent meeting of the Department of Higher Ed and joint meeting of Higher Ed and DESE, it was announced that the High School of Commerce and the schools that feed into it is the number one high school in the entire state for early college participants, which is really remarkable for the city of Springfield. We just have to be able to scale up our supports for kids.
Thank you, Mr. Brunel. Thanks, Matt. Any questions or comments, Mr. Brunel? Ms. Gresham, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is this just for FY 2022? I mean 2024? Just for one year?
So it will straddle, Ms. Gresham, this year as well as the following year.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Welcome.
Gresham. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Vice Chair Gonzalez?
So moved.
Motion made by Vice Chair Gonzalez. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy, absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, Board of Official votes, matter passes. Thank you very much. F is to approve an expenditure of $300,000 from the Mass Department of Health for the Behavioral Health Supports and Resources in Schools to respond to gun violence and related trauma grant. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This one also has been through Budget and Finance, and they approved it. We have Yolanda on to give us a quick explanation.
Dr.
Yolanda?
Johnson?
Good evening.
Good
Can
evening.
you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Johnson. Happy Easter.
Okay. Happy Easter to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
So good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Chair Gonzalez, Superintendent Warwick, and school committee members. This evening, I'm sharing with you an opportunity that we have with a grant for the amount of $300,000 that will be used to invest in professional learning for administrators, nurses, educators, paras in our district around supporting mental health in our schools. In addition, this grant is going to support the establishment of our empowerment clubs, which will be in our secondary schools, that's 612, and we've already started that work in our schools. It will also support the creating wellness spaces in our secondary schools as well as educator stipends and incentives for our students.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Vice Chair Gonzalez, please.
So moved.
I have a question.
Okay.
Mr.
Ms.
Mayor,
Naylor, go
I
ahead.
have a question. There were a couple of things that we wanted to get clarification on in the subcommittee meeting, even though we approved for this to come forth for the full body. One of them is that I wanted to get clarification on the $50,000. Is that for planning so that you have an idea of what you're going to do in the next fiscal years? Or is there some other use for that $50,000 prior to the 250?
No, it's the way the state provided the funding, and my understanding, and I'm almost certain it was due to the timing that we would not have been able to spend $100,000 between February and June. So it is a perfect kind of rollout for us because the $50,000 is currently being used for our empowerment clubs to get our clubs up and going. They're student-led with the support of 25 amazing educators throughout the district and our secondary schools, and we're using it to get those clubs up and going. So that is how we're using the $50,000. And now we're in the process of working on our plan for how we're going to spend funds over the next 2.5 fiscal years.
Okay,
Does that answer
wonderful.
your question, Ms. Naylor?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Anything else, Ms. Naylor?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, motion made by Vice Chair Gonzalez. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy, absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, Board of Official votes, matter passes. Thank you very much. G is to approve an expenditure for $35,283 for the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, for the FC 535 High School Senior Internship and Education Project. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This has also been through Budget and Finance. Kim, do you want to give us an explanation with Pam on this?
Ms. Wells, thank you.
Thank you. This grant is an opportunity. We had it last year. It's continuing again this year. It's an opportunity for our high school seniors who are interested in pursuing a possible career pathway in education to earn paid internship experiences working with our students at the elementary level. We're looking at funding for up to 36 students this year. Currently, we have 30 students who've expressed interest in it, and a few others who have continued to think about applying for that. So it's a really great opportunity for us to continue to build our possible educator pipeline by growing our own and giving them some real-world experience before they actually determine if it's something that they're really interested in. But it also gives us an opportunity to get to see the kids in action and help support them on their pathway to college and career.
Thank you, Ms. Wells. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion on the floor, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Naylor, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Gonzalez. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy, absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, Board of Sufficient votes, this matter passes. Thank you very much. H is to approve the award for the Municipal Cybersecurity Awareness Grant Program from the Massachusetts Office of Municipal and School Technology. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This grant has also been through our Budget and Finance Subcommittee. Bob St. Lawrence is here to give us a quick overview and speak to it. Bob?
Mr. St. Lawrence, and happy
Good
Easter.
evening. Happy Easter to you, Mayor Sarno, Vice Chair Gonzalez, members of the school committee. The purpose of this grant is to provide cybersecurity awareness training to ensure that our employees know the latest techniques that cyber criminals are using, how to identify phishing emails, and for our employees to better understand their role in keeping our organization safe from cyber attacks. Through this grant, we will be receiving licenses for training software, and there are several learning paths available. We will be encouraging employees to participate in one of two. The traditional learning path, which is a series of short modules, no longer than 6 minutes each, about 2 hours in total time. And the education learning path, where educators can opt into a more rigorous offering, where upon successful completion, they earn 10 professional development points. So happy to take any questions. We are excited about the opportunity to strengthen our organization's cybersecurity awareness.
Thank you, Mr. St. Lawrence. Timing is very good. We just, with Congressman Neil Ritchie, Union Station, the cybersecurity center that we're opening up there with federal funding and city funding, and opportune time for training, because that field is here, it's now, and it's in the future too, and it's important we do it on the city side, that our employees know when something doesn't look right or feel right, don't go on it. And we do the practice things that see if you can, so they follow up with IT to say, hey, there's something, could be something wrong here. So any questions or comments? Hearing none, is a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gresham, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Naylor. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy, absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, Board of Sufficient votes, this matter passes. Thank you very much. I is to approve the FY24 Student Opportunity Act Plan. Superintendent Warwick, please.
This item, Mayor, has also been through our Budget and Finance Subcommittee. I have Pat Roach, Kim Wells, and Michelle Balch here to give a quick overview and talk about the SOA submittal. Team.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Sarno, Vice Chair Gonzalez, Superintendent Warwick, and Springfield Community. Michelle Balch, and I'm just here to provide you with a little bit of an overview about what the SOA plan is and our submission overview. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay. Can everybody see my screen all right?
Yes, Michelle, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so the SOA plan stands for the Student Opportunity Act, and what it is there's just two things that we're required to do for DESE that we're working on very diligently in the district. And the first one is our district improvement plan, which is due to DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed, on June 30th. And this is a really comprehensive plan that talks about all of our strategic initiatives that we're going to implement over the course of the year that really support students, particularly in instruction. And this SOA plan that we presented really talks about our overall initiatives, a subset of them, and focusing on what the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has called EBPs, or evidence-based programs. And these strategies highlight specific initiatives that we're going to focus on that improve students' educational experiences and outcomes, but really focusing in on English language learners, students with disabilities, and students who are identified as low income. The timeline for this is going to be our second submission of our SOA plan. So we have gone through this process before. In January of 21, we were required to submit our first of our SOA plan, which is with a 3-year plan. And then we amended it, we made revisions, we assessed our progress. And then finally, in April of 23, we submitted our progress update. Starting this year, we are now on a new 3-year trajectory. In April of 24, we're required to submit this new 3-year SOA plan. And then it requires 2 progress updates, again, where we're going to be looking for feedback. We're going to make revisions to this plan to make sure that the plan really represents the work that we're doing moving forward. And then in 27, we submit a new SOA plan. There are 3 targeted areas for improvement that have been outlined by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed. And the first one is early intervention, and that's taking a look at early kindergarten students and knowing that if we don't address some of these problems, they continue to widen as students progress. Focusing on MLL students, multilingual learners, and students with disabilities, and focusing on those wraparound services, and not only just supporting students in the academic, but supporting their social, emotional, and behavioral support. So those were the 3 that DESE had said, all plans must include these components. So what we did is we took a look at our data, we took a look at feedback from our school plans. Our schools were working really hard to get feedback on their respective plans. And we looked at our data and we identified 3 real strategic priorities that are aligned to our district strategic plan that we're going to focus on over the course of the next 3 years, that we feel like are going to really be aligned not only to our strategic plan, but the work that we're doing. And a few weeks ago, you heard from Laura Menz and Kate Asher, who talked about the importance of pre-K and really showing that, addressing early literacy in the early grades is going to help our students. So that is one of our primary focuses of this SOA plan. And again, DESE has called out for this need to focus on our MLLs and our students with disabilities and creating these specialized programs, whether it's dual language or special education programs that are really tailored to meet the needs of those students. And then again, we're focusing on the academic support to address unfinished learning or tiered systems of support, MTSS. And again, that's talking about those social, emotional, and behavioral expectations, and really a comprehensive approach that brings in community partners, that really works with staff and the community members to make sure that we're addressing the holistic needs of every student. So we looked at our data and we looked at our district strategic plan, took a look at where we're headed, and we identified these high-level strategic priorities. And out of that, we aligned these to the evidence-based programs that DESE selected. So the first one that was identified is this MTSS supports. And again, that's cultivating this comprehensive tiered systems of supports for our students to address not only social, emotional, behavioral, but those academic supports, and looking at interventions and making sure that every student is getting what they need and has access to supports. And then the last EBP that we identified was a coherent and holistic range of programming. Again, these are looking at the whole child. It includes the pre-K programming, and it also includes these diverse enrichment opportunities, really focusing in on arts enrichment electives, AP coursework. A lot of our schools are working on expanding course catalogs, so really just encompassing all of these courses and our district strategic initiatives, and these we've outlined in our SOA plan, which is in front of you right now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if anybody has any questions.
Any questions or comments?
you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Ms. Gresham.
Thank you
please.
for the presentation. So April of last year, the district submitted a progress report, correct?
Yes.
Do we have a copy of that, or how can we look at that, take a look at that data?
We can get that to you, absolutely.
Okay, that would be good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. Any other questions or comments of Ms. Walsh?
Just a comment,
Collins?
Mr. Mayor, this went through Budget and Finance. For the public's edification, the Student Opportunity Act is a significant block of money that the legislature, after a lot of cajoling and a lot of fighting, decided to allocate to schools to help address the inequities in education. And it's just, what are we in we're what, 3?
I think we're in year 4.
Year 4, so we've got 3 more? And it's a large piece of money. And we clearly know what we've done with the money. If you look through our budget, you can figure it out. You can see that we prioritized the money and we spent it. The state doesn't want to go through the budgets from every school district in town and regional school district and try to weed it all out of their budgets. So they just said, okay, take all of your information, put it into our form so that we can take a look at it. While it's a slight hoop for us to jump through, I can see where it makes life easier for them. And if that's what we need to do to get this kind of money to spend on our students, I think we do it willingly.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Any other questions or comments?
I do have a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Naylor, yep.
One of the things that came up in the conversation during this particular part of the agenda was the question on the amount of money that we spend on arts and music. And so I wanted to kind of echo what Mr. Collins is saying, but also add that there are other funds for music and arts that we spend that are not necessarily in this budget. And so they clarified that for us because we were wondering, like, where's the money for the arts and music? And so it was clarified that a portion of it is here in the plan, but then there's other funds that are in our general budget. And so I wanted to just clarify that as well.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor. And a good point you brought up because we were one of the first school systems to make sure we fully funded the arts and music, and some others have not done that, and so this is my point.
And the state's effort, they wanted us to see how the target funding was spent on some of the evidence-based practices. So it doesn't incorporate all of our funding, but it does incorporate all funds, not just Student Opportunity Act funds. So they said, if you're doing the early education initiatives, what are all the money you're spending on those initiatives and how are they working? So it incorporates a lot more than just our SOA funds, but it's not incorporating everything in our budget. So it's a compliance piece of paperwork so the state can monitor how the money is being spent and that the money is really focused on what they consider evidence-based best practices. And that's what we try to achieve with this plan.
Absolutely, Superintendent. And I want to just also, Mr. Mayor, ask, we asked about this in the subcommittee meeting, but if we could get a line item from Mr. Roach's department as to what we are spending on music and arts, just as a clarification point. We didn't want to take away from this being approved, but we did want to make sure that we get some clarification as the budget process goes through as to what exactly we're spending on arts and music.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor. I know Mr. Roach is on, so I'm sure Pat will follow up with that.
Yeah, no, we'll get you that, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Ward. Thank you, Ms. Naylor. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Collins, or second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe-Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy, absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, one is sufficient vote, this matter passes. Thank you very much. Section 4 is informational discussion items. Katie's Closet, Mickey Cockrell, and Christine Glynn. Superintendent Ward, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. They wanted to present on our work with Katie's Closet, which has been going on for some years within the school system. Josiah, I didn't know if you wanted to speak to this.
Vice Chair Gonzalez, please.
Yes, thank you, Superintendent. And I just want to highlight Attorney Steve Roach for bringing them to our attention. And they've been doing great work, to Mr. Superintendent's point, already in several of our schools. But Steve, one of my District 1 constituents, did bring this up, so thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Hulkster. Georgie, are they on? Okay. You want to, can we double check? And if not, maybe we'll move on. We can come back and we'll get Principal Kelly and his crew up.
They were on the last agenda too, so, when we couldn't get to it.
Katie's Closet? Oh, names?
It'd be,
Okay, you're looking at
Christine, Glenn, and Mickey Cockrell.
Cockrell.
I know some people from the last
Yeah.
come this time. So they probably.
Okay, we'll get him back on.
Right.
That, we had, there was a loss of a quorum last meeting,
Right.
and we couldn't continue on. That's why we put it on our next agenda. So we look forward to getting Katie's Closet back, and to Attorney Steve Roach, who's out of my law department, AKA the Hulkster, and thank you, Vice Chair Gonzalez, because I understand this program's been very supportive with our system. So we look forward to getting them back. And without further ado, we had a great student session of entertainment, the Shop of Horrors, Little Shop of Horrors there. Principal Mr. Soccer, Ryan, Kelly, and crew are here. Springfield Conservatory of the Arts, school update, and we had Mr. Energy, Marco Carreras, here. If you weren't watching earlier, the young ladies did a great job. It was like the Supremes, Diana Ross and the Supremes there. So, Superintendent Ward, please.
Thank you, Mayor. A few pieces with Ryan's data. We're bringing schools that, really had strong performances relative to MCAS, and the growth at the Conservatory of the Arts has been incredible over the years. But a few stats that really jumped off the page. In 22, the grad rate was up to 100%. Wow. Yeah, so that's incredible. And I think, when kids are engaged and in things they're excited about, it really makes a difference. We had gains in all 3 subjects, and the criterion reference target percentile at the Conservatory of the Arts was 63%, so substantial progress. To put that in context, the average in the state is 36%. And, SciTech has one of the highest poverty rates in the state. So absolutely incredible. So the kids are not only, and we saw it earlier, making great gains in the arts, but the academics isn't falling behind either. I didn't know, Ryan, if you were going to sing and dance or maybe present some data. But I'll give you the opportunity.
Just have the opportunity to share. There we go.
Thank you very much.
So that's our foyer, which you'll see if you come to our shows or our graduation. All right, Catherine, next one. Beautiful. So just a little bit about our school, just going on the background. So we've been to school for 10 years. For the first 5 years, we were separate in 2 separate buildings, and then this wonderful building that we're now in was renovated and created thanks to the school committee in the city of Springfield for supporting that effort. It really made a difference in everything we do. We have state-of-the-art dance studios, science labs. The auditorium is amazing, which you'll see if you come to our show again. We have a new TV studio for recording, which I'll talk about in a little bit, which is just a practical application of the creative arts that our students are known for. Go ahead. That's our mission and vision. That's in your packet. Obviously, I'm not going to read it for you, but if you've ever driven down State Street, if you see our sign, it says, "Be kind, work hard, and make art." And that's what our school is all about. Our demographics are similar to all the other schools in the city, similar to the city as a whole. And Mr. Warwick just pointed out that great graduation rate from 2022, and shortly I'm going to talk about the reason why we were able to do that. So why we're special. The conservatory is about performing. You saw the 3 young ladies that were here earlier today during Speak Out. We have music, dance, drama, and visual arts. The students that enjoy our school the most are the ones who want to perform. They want to be on stage. When I went to those 3 young ladies and Mr. Carreras, said, "You guys want to be on TV and do it for the school committee?" They're like, "Yep, no problem." 12 and 13 years old, and you tell them that they're going to be on TV or on stage, and Mr. Carreras, as you know, brings them many places. They're immediately like, "Yep, sign me up, I want to go." And Cadence, you saw, is part of the Symphony Youth Orchestra. They're the future artists, they're the future performers of this city. And I would like to thank Mr. Curris, Mrs. Brown, Ms. Waterhouse, and Ms. Acevedo, who was mentioned, who's the dance teacher, for doing such a great job with those kids. So our data, Mr. Warwick was just mentioning it. The most important, I know it's in your packet so you can read it. The most important is that one at the bottom, substantial progress towards targets. What that really means is we're doing the right things. We are definitely not done yet. We still have work to do, but the things we're doing are working, and we're going to keep moving in that direction. Math in particular was something really important to us because math is so difficult to get growth in. It's just the toughest thing. Weird thing about the School of the Arts, English, the creative writing is something that they kind of align with really easily, and math is something that we have to work really hard about. So I'm going to highlight some of the people who work with our students. But before you change the page, you see the two bottom parts. All our MLL students met the math MCAS graduation requirement, and all but one of our students with disabilities met the math MCAS graduation requirement. Go ahead, Catherine. Thank you. So these are the things we did last year that I think made a really big impact on how the scores went up and how our school is in general. So our PLC push-in. So we have PLCs for the teachers, professional learning communities, which are the teachers have meetings with Mrs. Chase, my academic assistant principal, who's here. They meet with her to go over different strategies, teaching strategies, and things that we're going to work on. So it's a regular part of our schedule. So what we changed for last year is that we were going to allow teachers to be push-in to help their colleagues. So we would meet, say, once a week, and then the other times it fell in their schedule, they pushed into another classroom and became a second teacher. So one thing we found when we came back from the pandemic in the past couple of years is everybody got a little cooped up. So teaching has become more and more difficult, and having a partner with you in the classroom has been enormously helpful, and it's something that's made a real difference in a lot of our classes. For the MCAS in particular, we used our advisory block, which is another part of our schedule, and we did boot camps. Ms. Chase and our math department chair, Rainey Sward, organized our grade 10 students to be with math teachers. So the advisory class, you could be with a teacher from any content area. We took grade 10 and put them with math teachers. So part of the advisory is the SEL work, the social emotional learning, but those kids that were in with our math teachers also then did extra math, and the idea was to help them close those gaps and solve the problems that they might be having right now in math. We also have retiree callback. Lisa Capillo, a retired veteran of SBS, one of the greats, and Ms. Capillo has been working with our students for years, and she's a special education math teacher. So she has all the strategies that helps our students. She goes into classes that we identify, both middle and high, and she works with individual students. So the teacher might be teaching the class, and Ms. Capilla will take them over to a table or another desk and give them some extra help. She's fantastic. And I mentioned the special education that all but one of our students had met the math MCAS grad requirement. Juan Hernandez is the teacher of those students, and I want to point him out because he's a former para. Another example of the educator pipeline that you and the school committee and our school department are supporting. And he is working with that last kid to make sure that she gets over the line as well. He's been doing a great job for us. This year, Portrait of the Graduate has kind of become our life. The conservatory was one of the first schools. We were in cohort 1 of the POG, and that kind of, the work with our POG team and with our staff as a whole has informed a lot of the changes that we've made this year, and I want to point some of them out. So the primary person model is our advisory class. We went from having it be a regular part of the rotation where it would be every day to having it 3 days a week, 30 minutes, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I got feedback from the other principals in our zone that was the best version. It worked the best for the schedule. It worked the best for the students to do it in the middle of the day, 3 days a week. So what we do is, one day is a social emotional learning class. We have programs that the teachers use. Dr. Johnson, who was on earlier, has identified a bunch of programs, a couple programs that the schools all use, and our teachers have those lessons. And then they have 2 days where we have habits of work. Habits of work came straight from the Portrait of the Graduate. So our team identified habits that we want our students to focus on that don't only help them in school, they're going to help them in life. So as a staff last year in May and June in our Tuesday extended days, we had the staff identify what were the habits that you think are the most important for us to focus on. They picked time management, collaboration, and perseverance. So our staff created rubrics, and in the advisory, the teachers will meet with students on Wednesdays and Thursdays and review with them the goals that they have made as individuals, feedback that the advisory teacher gets from the content teachers, review the goal, see where you are in the continuum, and then make a plan for the next week, for the next month. We found this has been a better way than we've done before on getting to know the students on an individual level. I've had the pleasure of doing the advisory class a couple of times when teachers have been out sick, and a couple of times I just decided I wanted to go into one and run it. And doing those one-on-one conferences with students is just the best way to get to know them, see where they are and what they need. So that has been a great thing for us. The line there about vertical alignment. So I'm on the secondary grading committee, and one thing that we talk about a lot is the habits of work and what the elementary schools are trying to do and what we as secondary are trying to do. So we're giving feedback as the secondary grading group. I'm on with Deirdre Johnson and Ann Ferreter are the co-chairs of our group. And we just met actually today as a larger group, and we're giving feedback to the elementary group to help them know what we want to see out of our rising sixth graders. College connections. So our innovation pathway, which is something we've had now for 4 years. We're connected with STCC, which is conveniently right across the street. And I say conveniently because one of their professors, John Wakeland, comes over and works with our students every 2 weeks. He comes and does an in-person class with the kids who are in the pathway. In our building, it's led by Don Rogers, who is the coordinator, and our guidance counselor, Linda DeSaro, who's really been the linchpin for this program since it started. She's been the constant, and she's the one that helps our students connect most with colleges and then the career pathway. And then Pam Matheson, who works out of central office, works with us a lot. The dual enrollment, I'd like to point out, we have students who go to AIC, they go to ELMS, they go to STIC, and in particular, our AIC connection is becoming stronger than ever. You saw Mr. Carreras here earlier today, and you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, that you've seen the band out. They do, if AIC has an event, they call Mr. Carreras and the band goes. So we've already had a natural connection with them through the arts. I met with former Springfield principal and new AIC employee, Timmy Allen, and I asked him, how can we get more of your students into our school? What do we have to do to connect better? I want AIC kids in our school and our students at AIC to make a better connection. So he has sent some of his younger future education students to see some of our model teachers, Anderson, Freeman, and Wesley. So that's an English, social studies, and an art. And the AIC students came to our school and they observed. It's not a practicum, they're not teaching, but it's a way for them to get to know what it's really like to be a teacher. So we picked 3 of our best, and Timmy and I have communicated back and forth, and the experience the AIC students have been getting has been really great. Their feedback to their professors is that it's really good for them to get a better sense of what it is to be a teacher in Springfield or anywhere, because we know the statistics are people quit in the first 5 years, and I really think those are people who didn't know what teaching was really about. So the more we can get those future teachers in the classroom, the more likely we are to be successful. Last week we had our POG visit. We were one of the schools that got visited by the large group that came to the city, and the staff and students that came to our school, they visited classes. Their students did a student shadow where they went to classes with some of our students, following some of our teaching assistants to see what it's like to be a high school student working with middle school students. And the feedback they gave us was overwhelmingly positive of the experience. I want to read 2 comments. They filled out posters and, flip charts that, teachers and schools love to have those flip charts all over the place. So the 2 they left to us were, the portrait is ingrained in the culture. And I thought that was great because our staff has done so much work around the POG and the habits of work. And the second one was, I love the innovative way you are incorporating the POG elements in practice. And I think that was in particular about our arts class. They went to that middle school dance class, Ms. Acevedo, and they saw how she was using those habits to inform what was going on in class when the audience gives feedback to the performers. The students give feedback to each other, constructive, useful feedback, so that they can do better the next time. So, before you go to the last slide, I know Mr. Warwick and my CSO, Kim Wells, are always talking to me about what is the data telling you, and now what are you going to do with it? And we have to figure out how to improve the situation where we get data which isn't where we want to be. And the reason, or what we do with it, Catherine, if you can go to the next slide, is the people. So my job is to put the right people in the right place. That's the staff of the conservatory during our Black History Month, where we had great events by our Dyer team. They did a wonderful job this year. So I just want to point out some of the great work. I mentioned the PLC push-in. All the teachers are involved in that. They volunteer to go help their colleagues, so it's more of a team sport rather than the old close the door and teach my class and don't talk to anybody until the parking lot. This group of teachers are really working together and supporting each other. I mentioned already Ms. Capillo, who's the retiree callback, who goes to the most needy math classes and helps them out. I have a zone sub named Mary Christensen, who's a retired SBS teacher, and we gave her a schedule. She's the second person in 7 different classrooms, and she goes around and helps those small groups who need it. People are the most important thing we have. You saw our arts earlier, what Mr. Carreras does, and you know how often he gets them out into the public. The other arts teachers, they bring in master teachers to work with our students. They bring them out to theater. They bring them to the Double Edge Theater out in Ashfield. They do a lot of great stuff for our students. And my admin team, Mrs. Chase, who is here with us tonight, my academic AP, and Stephanie Denico, who's another assistant principal, are both graduates of Springfield's Promise Fellows program. So more evidence that the programs you are supporting are working, because they're both fantastic at their job. And my associate principal, Rachel Santori, the 3 of them do such a great job of connecting our students to our teachers and making sure that everybody is comfortable where they need to be to learn, and it's really working well. So lastly, I want to thank all of you and Superintendent Warwick and my CSO Kim Wells for supporting our school and allowing us to be this quirky, cool performing arts school right here in the city.
Eclectic. Way to go, Principal Kelly. Great job. Any questions or comments of Principal Kelly?
Sure.
Mr. Collins.
10 years ago, there was a lot of snickers and a lot of snide smiles when Springfield decided that it was going to open a conservatory of the arts.
Yeah.
And then to add to that, we put an all-American soccer player in charge. Yeah. But a soccer player who went through a metamorphosis. That jock he entered as a jock, he goes through a metamorphosis, and he emerges as a shining, bright star of arts education for SPS, and brings that school along with him and brings it to the point where there are great big smiles on people's faces and laughter in their hearts from what your students are doing. From your former life, Principal, goal!
Very good, Mr. Collins. Good analogy. Any other questions or comments?
I would like to make a
Ms.
comment,
Naylor.
Mr. Mayor. First of all, arts is just important to me. I don't know if you know a lot about my story, but I will say that art saved my life in a lot of ways, and I've been intentional about making sure my children understand how to implement arts into their lives so that they know how to navigate the world. And yes, it's about performing, but it's also about so many other things that people learn when they really indulge in the arts and learn how to, internalize it. And I think, to Mr. Collins' point, I remember going into the old building and I was working at my old job and we partnered together and I would walk around and you're like, we're figuring it out. And you were figuring it out. And it was like you had a plan and you had a vision. And you're now able to walk in that vision and continue to build and expand on the work. And so for me to see you in your infancy, in a way of speaking, of the school, and now see you where you're at, and the way you've been able to navigate and just be a partner in the community and always have your doors open for whomever wants to work with you and support the children, I think it's just commendable. And I think, to Mr. Collins' point, is something about you embracing yourself, being a champion, but then being able to extend that to our students and remind them that they're all champions as well in their own right, doing what they do and what they love. And so it's really a testament to your leadership and your ability to build a strong team. And I'm not surprised about the progress that I see, because I wouldn't expect anything less from you and from the students in that building. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor.
I appreciate that. The people that we've hired and brought into the school are the ones that make the difference, and it really is a great staff who just works really hard to help those kids succeed, so I appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Ms. Naylor.
How it was pretty cool to see that you take out time, like 30 minutes out of your week, a couple hours, to go over like time management, perseverance and stuff, like real life I can't talk.
You're doing fine.
Real life stuff that kids will need in the future, and I think that's really shows that like the people in place are really looking out for the students and they really care about their growth, because not only with the arts, you got the arts piece, which a lot of people can run to when they're going through something or whatever like that. Like you have that piece, but then you also have the piece where they need when they're grown and they're making real-time decisions. So it's good to learn that stuff in middle school. It's middle school. Is it a middle school?
We're 6 to 12.
6 to
So we have
12,
both.
yeah.
Middle
6 to
and high
12.
school.
Yeah, they-
Okay, yes, I think it's very good to learn that stuff in school, so.
Thank you. Thank you. We try to be as practical as possible. Mr. Carreras, who was here earlier, is still a professional performing musician. Our middle school dance teacher, Ms. Azevedo, has her own dance school where people come to see her weekly to get lessons. So trying to be practical and not just being in the arts, but giving the kids a head start on their future. That's the idea of the POG and our connection with the local colleges. So thank you. They really are doing a hard work on that.
Thank you, Ms. Snell. Thank you, Patience. I just like to say, and Superintendent Warwick and I were talking about it earlier when we were in our break, and Mr. Collins brought it up. There were people that snickered at us, or even worse, about what the hell you were doing with an arts school. And then when we went after the old Masonic Temple on State Street, which the auditorium is just absolutely tremendous, historic. And that program, and I want to highlight another program where we took some heat. Annie and I, 14, 15 years ago, the drug and alcohol that we put together for Western Mass to give kids a second chance. But in your case, it reminds me of my old South End Community Center. You have a hook, and as Ms. Naylor said, the arts, entertainment, and you young ladies that were here, I said, "You having fun while you're learning?" They go, "Yes, we are, Mr. Mayor." And that's the hook, and we used to use that. If you want to do these certain things, you're going to have to excel not only in a outside classroom, but inside the classroom. And you built a tremendous team. You really have. Mr. Carreras, I remember at times you had Dave Horgan in there. You used to take the kids to New York and meet some of the stars. Peter Scolari, God rest his soul, and really get into it. And you've had some that have moved on in singing careers on it.
Correct.
And then the other thing, 100% graduation.
Yeah, that was great.
Unheard of. Unheard of. So I think we all had the last laugh now on those. So, but great teamwork you've done there, and it is a shining side. And it also helps. Last thing I'll say too, as Patience, Ms. Naylor brought up, you're a middle school to high school. Those middle school years are so, kids are finding themselves, and it gives them self-confidence.
Sure.
To be able to present and self-esteem, and that's important. You see kids on stage, they're completely different. They're extroverted when they're on stage. Sometimes when they're introvert, but you get them on stage, the light bulb goes off, and so we just think it's a fantastic job, and I appreciate Superintendent Warwick that we're bringing up our schools that are really have done a tremendous job to let the public know. Are we perfect? Is it a panacea? No, but we've made tremendous strides here with our Springfield public school system. That's a testament to you and your team and to the students and the families. So, as Mr. Collins indicated, go!
Yeah. Thank you. We appreciate the support. Come to our musical.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say,
Oh,
too, Brian, I
It's
just want
overtime.
to
You're back.
thank you, but,
Terribly sorry.
when we started this concept, we thought we had a great concept.
Yeah.
A few of us at least thought.
Yeah.
And when we started getting going, but it was your leadership that brought it all together that's really made it work. Just tremendous. I'd also like to thank the school committee for supporting the concept, going out on a limb. And the mayor, because I called him on one of my crazy days, like when I called him on the Early Childhood Education Center and said, buildings for sale, we really need it for space if we're going to do the preschool. I said, we looked through the Masonic Temple, and we have this crazy idea that we can rehab this because the auditorium's second to none. We're close to the music center downtown, the conservatory and everything. what do you think if we give it a go? And of course, he came up with the money for it. So I just want to thank everyone for it. But at the end of the day, it's leadership at the building level that makes a difference, because Ryan, you really pulled it together. So I want to thank you and your wonderful team, because great leaders bring in great teachers around them who want to be there. And the enthusiasm in the school as you go through is absolutely incredible. And what a success story. But it's you and your team that have really pulled it off, and thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We'll now move the report of standing committees. A is student parent concerns, Ms. Gresham.
No report, Mr.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. B is Building and Maintenance Committee, Mr. Collins.
We've already handled the item on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. C is Legislative Contracts Committee, Ms. Monroe Naylor.
We had to reschedule our subcommittee meeting, and we will have another date coming up very soon.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor. D is Curriculums and Programs Committee, Ms. Hirsch, she is absent. E is Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Collins.
It was the majority of the agenda tonight, and we've gone through it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. F is Vocational Committee, Attorney Murphy, and again, a good health to you, Murph. I know you're having a procedure done, and we look forward to getting you back. G is Technology Committee, Vice Chair Gonzalez, please.
No
Suzanne.
report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Chair Gonzalez. H is School Safety Committee, Ms. Gresham, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had an informational session, but nothing to bring to
At
vote.
this time. Okay, and thank you for your efforts on that issue, too. Thank you, Ms. Gresham. I is Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Ms. Hirsch, she is absent. We'll now move to a report of our student representative, Patience Naylor. Ms. Naylor, please.
Hi, I'm glad to be before you all again today, and I'm just going to give you a couple updates on, we have a field trip coming up on Friday the 5th. We're going to the Boston State House, and this is going to be from 7 a.m. to the end of the school day, I'm assuming, and we're coming from, the bus leaves from SciTech, and we just get to spend the day and learn about government and have some, you know, informational conversations with the people there. And I'm planning on going to that, so I'm a little excited. And next, I wanted to talk about our mass development group that we've been working with the coffee shop that I've mentioned a couple meetings ago. We're moving into it being student-led, so we're working on, the next piece that we're working on is getting kids and getting students from high school and stuff like that to show interest and want to work with us, so we can, you know, it can't only just be a couple people, it has to be, we have to work on just getting people interested in spreading the word. So that's our next thing to attack. And I'm pretty excited that I'll be doing it with them for my last year in high school. And I'm excited for the work that we'll continue to be doing. I think this is my last meeting today. So I had a great time. I had a very, very, very great time. And I never sat in nothing like this before. My mother, of course, I've actually never been to meetings where she spoke. So being here and just seeing the way that y'all guys talk about different budget stuff, and the students that came here for the conservatory, the arts, I was very impressed and very inspired. They had very great voices, honestly. That's what I looked at. It was like their voices, and they're only in 7th grade. So that was really inspiring, and this is just a good way for me to keep up with the schools, and I never knew this much till I sat in these meetings. So thank you for having me, and thank you, Mama, for birthing me. Okay. And okay, that's all I have to
No, thank you. You've been a shining star here. Patience, can I ask you a question on the coffee shop? So you get students involved, so how to run a small business, in other words? If you're running they start to learn the basics of, you know, this is your business. You're starting to run this business here. So that's important, hands-on,
Yes.
doing that.
Yes, and we would love to have students working there, like from the high schools, to give them jobs to have, and invite. We're thinking about, we didn't finalize anything yet, of course, but we're thinking about just like inviting Putnam students to come in for vocational, like hospitality and stuff like that, to like have jobs and opportunities for them there. And honestly, I just think it's a really great idea. I've dwelled on it a lot. I even wrote a whole essay for it for school for one of my projects, because it was like we did like a Dear Mayor thing where we wrote the mayor
Yeah.
something that we would love in the city.
Yes.
And that was what I wrote about. And I'm just very excited for it.
Well, you look at, you have the Starbucks, the Dunkin' Donuts, they got their start somewhere, so. But let me turn it over to school committee members, especially Mother Latonia Monroe Naylor, because I did not realize this was your last meeting. We share it. We have a great triangle, or I say trifecta, and Latonia is the second in that triangle. So with that, let me open it up to school committee members.
Well, I want to just say congratulations on your time with us, and thank you for doing your due diligence and your homework and making sure that you understood what was happening and you always got clarification on things so that you could advocate for the students and be present. And it's a testament to the work that you all are doing, CSO Wells and Jose Escribano, with the young people, that they, not just patients, but all of the students that are participating have been phenomenal and just engaged and very intuitive. And so keep up the good work. I know I'll see you after this meeting is over anyways, but I'm really happy for you.
Very good. Any other questions or comments?
Yes,
Ms. Gresham?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you, patients, for coming and bringing us information from a student's perspective, because it's all about you guys, the students. And thank you very much, and much success.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham.
Patience, as your mother said, you're prepared for every meeting,
Yeah.
which is really impressive, because not all people who sit here are, including some of us, unfortunately, sometimes. And you always had something very important to say, and you listened attentively to the people who presented, and you handle yourself with dignity and poise, and your presence makes people want to listen to you. Keep it up. You're going to go far.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Any other questions or comments? Thank you again, Patience, very, very much, and we wish you continued success. We know that your star will continue to shine.
We're also going to miss your smile.
Yes. Beautiful young lady, beautiful, intelligent young lady. A report of the superintendent. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. We were the host site last week for a Portrait of a Graduate conference. Several communities that are implementing the portrait came here. We had a lot of work on student voice, which has been a big part of it. We were talking about how important student voice is with patients, but that was a big part of the conference. The other thing were site visits to our schools. So other schools from across the country and districts came in and went to our schools. And I happened to have been at SciTech when they were there, and very impressed with the implementation of Portrait of a Graduate. So that was nice. Bar Foundation has been very supportive of our Portrait of a Graduate work. But it's nice to have a group from across the country that working together and implement Portrait of a Graduate, so we can learn from each other on what's going well and get ideas from other communities. So that was a terrific event. We have Paraprofessional Appreciation Day, April 3rd. I think there's buttons in your packets that we provided for you. And we have a little piece in your packet about Paraprofessional Appreciation Day. We have over 700 paras in the district that serve a vital role, so I want to publicly thank them for their wonderful service. Dwayne Early provided us a nice winter sports recap, which is in your packet. There's a lot of individual award winners that are all listed there for you. Some of our teams, and I'll just highlight a few of them. Putnam, Western Mass boys basketball advanced to the quarterfinals, losing in the quarterfinals, and lost in the round of 16 to Franklin, but went far into the tournament. So congratulations there. Central boys basketball advanced to Western Mass, losing by only 2 points at the last second, and then advanced also into the state tournament. Let's see. Duggan, Western Mass boys basketball advanced to Western Mass championship, losing in the finals, so that was a great accomplishment. and then qualified for the state tourney and got to the round of 32. In Renaissance, Western Mass girls advanced to the Western Mass Championship, beating Lenox, first ever Western Mass Championship in school history, and qualified for the state tournament, lost in round 4, so advancing pretty significantly. So those are some of the highlights. There's a lot of individual students that did well also, but congratulations to all of our teams, and we're very proud of them. Another announcement on April 3rd, as you know, with our ESSER money, and I'm so proud of the way we spent our ESSER money, because we did it in investments, enduring investments, as opposed to spending it all on people, like almost every other district across the country. Now they're engaged in mass layoffs because of the funding cliff. And Springfield, we didn't spend our money that way. We let the schools have a lot of the money, and each school designed a project with their money and made improvements to their facilities. And it very exciting, and every school needed something a little different, but went with a focus. Central put a lot of money into a sports complex, and $6 million sports complex, and we're gonna have beautiful practice field, baseball field, softball field. And the first game at the field is gonna be April 3rd at 4 p.m. School committee's welcome to see it. It's really, really great. I've been visiting to take a look at it. But you see these projects going on in every school. You see some playground sets outside some of our elementary schools, different projects that the team at each school decided, but enduring projects that years from now we're going to have to show for our ESSER money as opposed to hiring extra staff for a few years, facing a funding cliff, and then having to lay the people off like other districts are doing. So congratulations to the finance team, because this has been a ton of work. And I have to compliment John Carrigan, Peter Garvey, and his team, because executing all these projects within the timelines for this federal money and dealing with the federal bureaucracy is always a very, very significant challenge, making sure that we put all the paperwork in and we're spending the money on time. But great projects across the district, and I think the schools are just thrilled with what's going on. So I want to thank the school committee for their support with that.
So, Superintendent Warwick, so you guys are throwing out the first pitch?
Yeah, this guy who's an old catcher that wore the tools of ignorance, I'm throwing out the first pitch there, so I'll make sure I don't throw it in the ground.
I was just going to say, wouldn't it be more appropriate that he throw the first pitch and you catch the first pitch? You're a catcher.
I'm a catcher. I'll catch it. Hopefully, it's not a 58-foot curveball. I don't want to break my nose again. I've done that a couple times.
Well, I think you're going to be very safe if I'm throwing the pitch, man.
But, I have to say that we talked about the arts, but the hook of athletics has helped a lot of our young people, young men and women, move on to school. I mean, in the Sweet 16, Hassan Ward out of Central.
I saw it.
Hassan's playing, they're in the Sweet 16.
Iowa State.
They're in the Sweet 16 on that. And Isan Diaz is playing pro ball and baseball, so it gives an opportunity there. And on the paraprofessional front, the Kathy Mastronardi and her whole team would do a great job. Principal Kelly, Ryan brought up about one of the teachers now that was a former para. And we've been very supportive, school committee, really paying for your you want to make the leap, we're paying for your education to become a teacher on it. But and then soon we're going to have the Ted Plum Field, the Duggan Complex. So in June we'll all be at that, and we'll have the Ted Plum family, Coach Plum's family there. And I know your father played all of the old trade, and that's going to be state of the art, just like Central. And a city our size needs that. But those are hooks where you can tell the kids, whether it's the arts, extracurricular activities, playing ball. You want to play ball? You got to produce in the classroom, too. Right. So that's pretty good. So maybe, Chris, we'll do that. I'll catch Danny, will throw it, I'll catch it. How's that? Huh?
Yeah, that's the way it should go.
My son found out about it. He said, "Dad, do me a favor, okay? Don't hurt yourself." I said, "Okay, ease up."
You've been catching his for years, so you might as well keep it going.
Okay. Any questions or comments, superintendent's report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to unfinished business. Hearing none.
Just
Yes,
to-
Mr. Collins.
Well, just to let the public know that unfortunately, the group that was going to present the Katie's Closet, they were well prepared. They had a beautiful report for us. I don't know what happened with the communication.
We'll get them back, Mr. Vice
The
Chair.
public, they had a heck of a report here.
We'll get, Vice Chair Gonzalez indicate, we'll get them back. We'll get them back. Anything on unfinished business?
Mr. Mayor,
Vice Chair Gonzalez.
I don't know if it's unfinished or not, but I think it would be incumbent of us if Mr. Collins, as the chair of as the ad hoc search, just to give a brief update on that, Mr. Mayor, since it's not about our standing committee updates, just so we can keep the public informed.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I want to commend Mr. Collins, Vice Chair Gonzalez, and Ms. Gresham. They have done yeoman work on this, and I know they had the first public meeting of 5 or 6 that have been done, and we're on course here, and you have put a lot of hours into this, and I thank you very, very much. Mr. Collins?
Sure.
Ms. Gresham?
At this point, the screening committee has already, as far as I know, been completely trained. We have had our first public input session, which was this past Tuesday. We'll be having one next Tuesday. I'm going to take some time and get them out because we'd like to make sure that people come and express their opinion. The next input session is at Central High School next Tuesday at 5 p.m. The one following that is on the 9th of April at DeBerry in the cafeteria at the new school. Nice time to both come see the new school and give your input on what this committee should be looking for qualities and experience and skills in a new superintendent. The 16th, we will not hold one because that's school vacation. Then we go to the 23rd, which again would be at 5 p.m. This one would be at Brightwood, Lincoln. Another chance to come see a new building and have a chance to give your input. And everybody's invited to any one of these meetings. You don't have to, they're not for specific groups. And the final one would be on the 30th of April, and that's at Harris Elementary School in their auditorium. Their library.
And Chris, we encourage students.
We encourage everybody, including students, to come, give us your input on the skills and the qualities that we should be looking for as we go forward to gather a new superintendent. The date is fast approaching. I think it's Monday or Tuesday for the submission. So we'll get an idea early next week as to how many people applied, not who, but just a number of the people who have applied. And those names will go on, the qualifying names will then go on to the screening committee, who will hold interviews. And after they do some interviews, they will pass on a list of finalists to this committee, between 3 and 5. Those people will be notified, be given the courtesy of being notified before it goes public. Once the names are public, some due diligence will be done by this committee to look into all of the candidates, and then public interviews will be held on the 30th of May.
Thank you, and I want to, before I go to Vice Chair Gonzalez, I also want to thank the screening committee members because they're making a full court press commitment of 1 month's time. 1 month's time, and we appreciate that. Vice Chair Gonzalez, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank our secretary, Ms. McCarthy, because she's been great with us a lot of hours. So I really wanted to thank her. I always say that she makes sense of our mess of deliberations after several hours of it, and she makes sense of it all. And by the way, one of our longest marathon meetings, she also got us nice snacks. So thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Vice Chair Gonzalez. Barbara, Ms. Gresham, did you want to say anything? You're part of this ad hoc committee.
Yes, the first one we had was Tuesday. It was well attended. It was a well attended meeting and a lot of information. People had a lot of information and input. So that's what we're looking for, input from the community.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. Anything else under unfinished business? Hearing none, anything on new business? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Well, everybody said it. Motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Monroe-Naylor?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy, absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, Board of Official votes, the matter passes. To each and every one of you, happy Easter. Thank you for watching. Good evening, good health, and God bless. Thank you.